60% of us refuse to split our possessions and money fairly in our wills. It seems that wills are now being used to exact revenge, single out favourite siblings, and even control families from beyond the grave. Now, it sounds very sinister, but it is a real problem. It's also a real problem if you don't have a will in the first place.
Well, don't. This is so embarrassing. I haven't got a will. I mean, I
see.
There are a number of reasons I haven't got a will. First of all, as you know, Mark is a chronic hypochondriac, so a will means he's going to die. If for a very smart man, it's incredible that he hasn't actually accepted yet that he is going to die. So any mention of death, then he's got to face it. So, and I think a lot of people struggle with that in the wills.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for a long time my dad was like that about wills. He just couldn't even think about it or talk about it, and it's a stumbling block that everyone should get over. But we have been a number of times, and it's really complicated. I can't believe how complicated it is. If you've got a blended family, you know, because I've got stepdaughters, and how does this work? And when this one grows up, and then da-da-da and da-da-da. So we do keep failing. We actually have never finished it. But I've certainly, in my family, and my extended family, I have seen some of this controlling beyond the grave. And I really do think it's despicable. And maybe I think Mark and I are overthinking it, because we don't... The last thing we want to do is cause any arguments. We want to bring people together.
Just spend it.
Rather than...
Just spend every last...
I think that's what I'm going to do.
So much easier, just spend it. And don't have any kids. Because then...
You don't have to give them your money.
Well, no, it's not that. No, you don't have to, but it is complicated, and it gets more and more complicated the more kids you have and the more families that get blended together. I can't imagine what it's like, but it is a real problem for people who have families who don't have a will. It's not only... It's irresponsible and it's selfish, actually, because it can cause so many problems for the people who are left behind.
It is a difficult conversation to have, but it is worth doing for precisely the reasons that Carol's just said. I mean, we're a blended family, and it was a kind of an awkward day. You're sort of sitting there with the solicitor, and, you know, you have to do all these scenarios about if so-and-so dies with so-and-so, or if this person dies first. And when we did it, you know, we said, oh, well, if I die, you know, everything will go to Gary, and he'll just make sure that the kids are all right, you know, including my daughter, his stepdaughter. And the lawyer was like, well, that's all fine, and I'm sure you're lovely people, but you must always leave an exact written provision for a stepchild, because he'd had so much experience of, you know, one partner being left all the money on the proviso that they would help out the kid, and then they go, I'm not giving you any money. At a later date, and then of course it goes to court,
and then you've got the whole
contesting
contesting the will thing,
and then all the money gets spent in lawyers' fees, and nobody gets it anyway.
I was talking to somebody earlier backstage, actually. A friend of theirs deals with wills all day long. That's his full-time job, and he said a lot of his job is trying to talk people out of putting malicious content into their will. Which and isn't that shocking, really?
It's so spiteful, though, isn't it? To do that deliberately.
Slam the phone down, isn't it?
Yeah, to upset someone after you've died. But I also think it's really disrespectful and wrong and ugly to contest a will if there's no valid reason. And by valid reason, I mean the only valid reason to be able to contest a will is if it's been extracted while the person who was making it was not of sound mind.
Oh, God, no, there's much more than that.
No, you can't.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reasons to contest a will.
But you shouldn't...
Legally.
Oh, well, I know, but I'm sure you have.
She comes prepared.
But you should not be able to contest what people want to do with their own money.
I think in some cases you should.
And the famous case was, who's the really old guy in America who was with the young...
Getty.
No,
Anna Nicole.
And the family contested it, and I thought, look, you know, she made him happy, obviously, and he wanted to leave all his money.
In all sorts of ways.
Yes, and hardly surprising. So you can't contest it, and I think it's really mean to tell someone what they should do with their money.
I think there certainly are situations where you could think where somebody could have been taken advantage or manipulated. I mean, for instance, say you had left Gary with that, and you had absolutely trusted Gary that he would give your daughter a fair share, and then he didn't. Would she not have the right to say, hang on, my mum worked really hard, my mum trusted you and wanted you to give me something, to be able to take that to a court of law?
But it's too late. She already trusted him. It's too late. That's it.
So you wouldn't have any contesting of laws whatsoever, of wills ever?
Well, I don't know what the rules are. Jane, why don't you tell us what they are?
Well, obviously there's the being coerced. There's fraudulent, so forged signatures.
Well, obviously, that that goes without saying.
A clerical error on the solicitor's part.
Well, yeah.
Like a technicality.
Yeah.
Testamentary capacity, i.e. sound mind.
Go on, say that 3 times really fast.
Haven't got time. Lack of knowledge and approval, so i.e. that the understanding and the content was not made clear to the deceased beforehand. And lack of valid execution, which is a lack of a signature or witnesses.
How do you prove that, though, when the person...
Well, when you've got a will with no signature on it, that's how you prove the last.
Okay, so are you saying, and I kind of get what... I think I know what you're saying, is if somebody falls madly in love with somebody that everybody else knows, and I think we know somebody that we feel this happened to, and then they are manipulated and coerced...
Not necessarily, just the trust is there, and that person has chosen to trust that person.
Right.
We might sit here and think, that person's had his hand forced. But you don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
But what if the children clearly know? What if the children clearly know that one of their parents has been manipulated by somebody that's come into a relationship? Surely we must have some sort of clause for that.
Yeah, but the key here is to just... If you have your own money, you're not kind of like hanging around waiting...
Absolutely.
So you don't get so sort of... But I see here, there's been a 36% increase in cases of people in dispute over inheritance.
But you know what, Jane? It's not even just about money, because the thing is, say you've got 2 sisters.
It's about
exactly the
fairness.
Same. It is about fairness.
Yeah.
And there are emotions tied to what your parents choose to leave for you. And it's not... You could be
I think it doesn't actually come down to money. It comes down to emotion.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And I think you almost can't miss what you never had and what was never guaranteed to be yours in the first place. But the feeling that someone else has been chosen over you.
I mean, and that's another thing that makes a will so complicated. I mean, well, I don't really have anything. I've got a house, but you know, it's like I've got these rings. So which one do I leave the ring to? You know, which one? So they know that particular one is my favourite, and this is what they talk about when you go to the lawyers, don't you think?
Well, Nadia, you're in my will. I've put Nadia Swala, who said that I would never mention her in my will. Hello, Nadia.
Hello, Nadia.
Oh, you ruined the surprise now.
Very quickly.
Can I have that one?
No. Very quickly, we've got loads of comments on this. Joy says, my in-laws left everything to their daughter, telling her to share it between her 2 brothers. She emptied the house, got all the money and left.